Hello everyone and welcome to this short video that is going to look on how to obtain legislation online, where you can find Acts of Parliament online to help you with and use in your studies. And what I'm going to do in this short series is I'm going to focus on one particular act. I'm going to focus on the Railways Act 2005, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can go about obtaining that piece of legislation from two places online. And I think it's worthwhile you following these instructions and downloading this act if you are following this short series. And the reason for that is that we're going to use the Railways Act and one of its commencement orders in a later video. And the reason that we're focusing on that is that the Railways Act is a parent act. So we're going to look at it in terms of its status as a parent act and a number of pieces of secondary or delegated legislation that link to it. And I'm going to show you how the two link together. So the first thing to say is that for those of you that are subscribers to the Law Bank, and the Law Bank is our parent website, it's where you will find all of our resources for teachers and students. The easiest way to find the two pages where we are going to find all of our legislation is on the links page. And if you look on the menu on the left hand side, you can see all of the AQA and OCR units where you will find our resources, but at the very bottom here you will see the links page, and this is logged in as me. Then the links page will take you to this long list of good quality law links, and we're going to focus on just two. The first is the British and Irish Legal Information Institute, or BAILI. And if we click on that, it will take us to the BAILI website, and I mentioned that in our last video. All right, so I'll come back to that in a moment. The other is way at the bottom, and it says UK legislation, and that will take us to legislation.gov.uk. Okay, so the first and easiest way is if we go back to the home page, is to click on links and then click either to British and Irish Legal Information Institute or to UK legislation. If, however, you're not a subscriber to the Law Bank, you can always go through plain good honest Google. And the easiest way to do that is to think of what legislation is it you want to look for. In this instance, we are looking for the Railways Act 2005. Okay, so let's search for that. And you can see here the Railways Act 2005 is listed in the legislation.gov.uk website. So if we click onto that, it will take us directly to the Railways Act legislation. Okay, so we'll just do that and show you that again. In Google, type in the Railways Act, then click on the Railways Act here, and it will take us directly to the piece of legislation in legislation.gov.uk. Alternatively, you can start at www.legislation.gov.uk, and in the search or legislation area, in that box that says title, you can type in the Railways Act, but probably would be useful if you spelt it right first. So the Railways Act, and we know that the year is 2005. If we search for the Railways Act 2005, it will bring us up all of the legislation that it has available. And you can see here that we have the Railways Act, which is the full Act, 2005, Chapter 14. But it also has all of the commencement orders, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and a number of other, and 5, and another of other provincial orders. But we are going to focus on this one here, the Railways Act 2005. If you click the Railways Act, whilst that waits and that loads, that will now load up for you the entire Railways Act. And you've got a number of different ways of viewing that. You can certainly view it online. And if you are sat at a large computer, then that's perfectly fine. But what you might want to do is to download this, and there are two ways of doing that. The first is located here. Here you can download the original print PDF. So if you were to click on that, it will bring up in your PDF viewer the Railways Act in all of its entirety. And you can see here, if we look over at the top left, you can see that's 156 pages long. And if you look on the far side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download that Act of Parliament, and I'm going to open it with Adobe Acrobat Pro. Okay, so let's just have a look at that again. If we go back, we're going to open the original print PDF. When that is loaded up, we are going to go across to the buttons on the top right hand corner, okay, and we are going to click download. If we click download, I always choose to open the file with Adobe Acrobat, and if we do that, it will download in Adobe, and then I can just go ahead and save it as wherever it is I choose to save it. Okay, we're not going to save, let's get out of that. So in the resources area, we can download the original print PDF, and depending how old the legislation is, you might find 2 or 3 versions. You might find the original scanned in, particularly if it's an old piece of legislation. The other way to download this is to move across to the top here where it says Print Options. If you click Print Options, it will give you the opportunity to download the table of contents or the whole Act. If you click on the whole Act, it will tell me that this is a large Act. Do I want to continue? Well, I do. And in a separate page, it will bring me up the Act in a print style document. What I can then do is I can then go back up to my download. I can open with Adobe Acrobat, and it will allow me to open up the print version. You can still see that that's 154 pages large. And then I can just go ahead and save as per normal. Okay. So let's just go back. I'm not going to save. It's just because that opens up in a new window. We're going to go back here. Let's cancel that. We're going to go Print Options, the whole Act if we want the whole Act. Click PDF. It will tell me how large the Act is, and I will open that up in a new window. And then I can download it and save it as normal. The final page that I want to show you is the British and Irish Legal Information Institute, BAILI. And if you look at BAILI, BAILI has a number of additional options. It allows us to a general search, and that will bring up hundreds and hundreds of documents. But what it allows us to do is the top 3 here. So if we look on our search mechanism, the top 3 are when we want to find case law. And in the short series that I'm going to do on interpreting case law, I'll demonstrate to you how to find cases using BAILI. But we're going to go to the legislation search, which is the 4th one down. If we click on the legislation search, it will bring up this page. The title of our legislation we know is the Railways Act. Okay. The date we know is 2005. So I've entered those 2 pieces of information, and over here is our search button. Now, there are an awful lot. It's got all of the commencement orders, it's got some additional orders, but if you look down, we know already that the Railways Act is Chapter 14 of 2005. So it means it's the 14th piece of enacted legislation in 2005. And we know that from our previous video. If we now click on this, it will take us to the BAILI version of this, which isn't so presentable, I have to say. So my preferred option would always be to go to the legislation.gov.uk and download the Act in all of its forms. Okay, so here, of course, you can see you've got the Railways Act 2005 with these little annotations. What we would want you to do is to go to the printable version up on the top of the page. Click on the printable version, and that will bring up the Railways Act in a easier format. And I'm not saying for 1 second this is the best option, but it does give you an alternate. If you are searching for a piece of legislation and it proves hard to find, then look on both BAILI and government legislation.gov.uk. So I hope that's been useful. I hope that's given you some idea about when you're teachers or you want to research legislation, those are the two best places to find the documents that you want.